Hi, this is Isabel Litzler, the place to be to develop your skills and grow your potential. So today's video is for women. Because I do understand that in the past, and again, I do want to mention this because it is changing, but in the past, a lot of women were the ones who followed husbands into a country and didn't really have a choice necessarily, or felt that it was the right thing to do, and that's always harder to make it, so to say, in a country where it wasn't your personal choice. And I've had clients who followed husbands and they had the hardest time in Switzerland because it wasn't their decision. I mean, they followed the partner in an odd city where there wasn't much going on, or they didn't really know the local language, etc. So again, because it wasn't their choice, they weren't necessarily prepared for the transition. But that has changed, and I would say now I see more and more husbands following wives, so that's also interesting. But basically, I would say the difference is that as a woman, again, there's the whole idea also that's maybe a bit stronger on the work-life balance, especially if you have children, etc. So I wanted to make a video on how to prepare yourself for the job market so that you're aware. And the idea is that when you listen to my videos, you learn more about what's going on locally so that you can make your decision whether that's the right call for you. And I've had some people who contact me early on who are still in their home country and say, look, this is my situation. Does it make sense to be going to Switzerland? So the first thing that I would look at, if you're asking yourself this question, does it make sense for me, whether you're going to follow someone or you're the one who wants to go to Switzerland? The first thing to take into account is to be honest about your type of work and whether that's marketable in Switzerland. So obviously there's jobs that are more marketable than others. People who have positions where they work a lot with the local markets, so you're talking about anything that's in-person market. So you're working in a hotel, in person to person, or in a shop, or you're working in I call that the middle office type of work. So secretary, office manager, and all that. There's tons of these skills in Switzerland. So as an outsider, you're going to compete with people who already know the market, they have the language skills. It's also the type of work where you have to speak the local language because you're talking to locals. So your market potential there is not going to be the greatest because, again, the skill is already there. Now you can offset that with excellent people skills. So, if you're a secretary, but, and there's going to be a lot of competition, but you have some special thing that you do. Maybe you reorganize the whole team. Before, as an office manager, you went from secretary to office manager. You reorganized the whole team. You put in place some policies. You were able to transform, the whole office, and you work with very, very senior CEOs that are leaders in their companies. So you have something that's really like above average, I would say, to offer to Switzerland, then maybe it could be interesting. But really, I would say what would make more sense is that if you have the type of roles that are in high demand, because then you do less job hunting. So if you're just like, yeah, I'm going to, again, be a secretary or an office manager or something where I'm going to compete with most and there's very low demand, then probably it's going to be a bit more of a challenge for you. Now, if you enter Switzerland as a blockchain expert, or you trained in, you come from the US and from San Francisco, let's say, the hub of the startups, and over there you were a top-notch coder, or you were, doing now we talk also a lot about security, web security. All these things are really, really in demand, whether you're a man or a woman. So if you're a woman in a high demand field, and I would say anything that touches on technology or digital, so if you're great at what you do, you're going to have some potential in Switzerland, and the language skills become less important, because if you're a top-notch coder, for example, then it doesn't really matter whether you speak the local language. That's not really the heart of your job. Now, if you are going to be a concierge, and you work in a desk in a hotel, and you can't speak with the local in French, that's a little bit more of an issue. So I'm just trying to make it also more concrete in my videos of what I mean. So really about being a high demand type of function. Number two that you have to be aware of in Switzerland is that in the workplace, the system is not necessarily there to help women, meaning that it's getting there. And I do want to be honest, there's a lot of different initiatives. I've actually talked to someone who worked in a startup in Switzerland where they wanted to help also with parents, working parents with childcare and all that. So there's some initiatives there, but you have to be aware that the whole childcare system is very much private, and it's very costly for the working mother to put her child into childcare, or for the couple, so to say. So you just have to be aware that it's going to be a little bit of an amount of income that you have to put towards childcare and organization of childcare, I would say, or family care altogether. Because when I think about lifestyle, I think about countries like Thailand, or even in Africa, I would say, and expats who've been there probably understand, where you have a full-time person that's doing all your cleaning and taking care of the house. And I've heard this from expats who were there, and basically they don't do anything. They just have someone, who takes care of the house, takes care of the kids. So you can afford that lifestyle over in Africa, probably in Thailand as well. You have people who can do a lot for you very cheap. Now, coming to, again, depending on where you're from, maybe you're in a country where it's also very expensive, but in Switzerland, it's definitely not easy to get support because the cost per hour is really, really high. So again, there's some startups that are trying to, make that a little bit more achievable. There's a startup in the French part of Switzerland called Batmade, and they're trying to make cleaning house a little bit cheaper. And I know there's some initiatives also around childcare. So it's coming, but you just have to be aware that it is a budget. So if you have children and right now you live in a country where it's affordable, maybe your system is such, that you have a lot of financial resources, or government pays a lot to help you. It's not the case in Switzerland. So you just have to be aware of that it's going to be an investment. So for women, again, because that's the topic of the video, the job market for women, again, if you're in a very high demand position and you can find a job, but then, if you have children, you have to think about, also taking that into account in your budget, that you have to pay for that. And number three, become your own project manager in your search. So again, the whole empowerment of, if you want to find a job in Switzerland, again, whether you're following someone or you want to come by yourself, you really have to take things into your hands. So if you hear or you read on forums, it's hard to find a job, etc. Yes, but for people who are motivated, who have the determination, something will pop up for you, but you have to do the work. It's like anything else. If you want a bikini silhouette, you have to do the work. So, it's always going back to that. So it doesn't matter what you want, you can probably get it. But the trade-off is that you're going to have to work hard for it. So if you want to make it, whether it's in Geneva or Zurich or wherever, come prepared. I tell that to everyone who books a call with me. Don't go at it as, well, I'm just going to come and see what happens. Make sure that you read about the Swiss market, you watch my videos, you do download documents, you know how to do a great Swiss application. I mean, I'm still shocked by how many people are not doing that. So how can you be taken seriously? So really, it's really about preparation. So if you're an expat wife, for example, you can find a job in Switzerland. I know many people who do. But then the ones who say they don't, it's usually because they're not making it a high priority. So maybe the priority will be to support the family for a while, and that's fine. But then you can't really say that the Swiss market is not helpful. So if you want to make that find that first job, get that first opportunity, you really have to go at it as you become a project. And I have a workshop that I do, become your own project manager. It's really about taking into your hands your job search and building your profile. And that's really my course, which I will post below, typically for the first comer expat. Building your profile and going out there, doing the Swiss application and networking. And if you do those three things, building your profile, building your resume, and building your network, you will get a job. And I have people who did get a job in the 3 months that I put in the course, but because they were dedicated to it and they worked at it 100% and they followed all the steps that I teach in the course. So when people ask me the question, what's the success rate on your course? I say 100% if you do the work. So if you follow all the steps and you tick all the boxes, then you have all the resources, and it's on you to actually go out there and be selected. So no one is going to come for you. No one is going to offer you a job. No one is waiting for you in Switzerland, basically. No one was waiting for me when I came. But I made my place. I built my place. So it's a little bit like you come to an island and it's deserted. You're going to build yourself a little hut or a little house there, a little wooden house. So it's the same thing in Switzerland. You come, no one's waiting for you. No one is going to look at you. No recruiter is going to offer you a job. But once you build your name and you become noticeable, then people are going to start looking at that house that's there on the desert island. So that's really what I want to share with you last, is take it seriously. So you can, the summary of this is that if you are serious about your Swiss adventure, again, as a following spouse or as a solo person, if you're really serious about building something in Switzerland, you can. It's possible, and I have a big network of expats who did it, so I know it is possible. But there's a but, it's not going to be offered to you on a silver platter. So you will have to come and work for it. Building your network is going to be a huge, huge part of it, because the skills without the network is not enough nowadays. And that's actually true for any country. Getting an MBA is not going to be the change maker for you. And I do want to say this because I know expats who spend a lot of money on MBAs. And I wish they would call me first and see if the MBA was the answer for them. It could be in specific situations, but really it's more about what I say in my course, which is, do you have an actual target, a typical project in place, a timeline for this project, and are you building towards that project? So I hope it was helpful for the women expats who will find this audio video on YouTube. And feel free to post below. Check my resources also that I post below, because there's a lot of it. Consider joining the club as well, because we do have quite a few women in the club who want to achieve in Switzerland. And thank you very much.